King's way up to the table. Hello, Your Honor.
Good morning. You may be seated. Also here before the court is Mr. Kevin Stapleton. He's the agent in the Department of Corrections who was prepared the pre-sentence investigation report in this case. We're here today for a sentencing on a single count conviction for attempting to carry a concealed weapon. I'm sorry, actually, there's two. Attempting to carry a concealed weapon, which is the felony, and then we have a simple assault and battery, which is a misdemeanor. Both were pled to by the defendant on November 17th. And let's take a look here. Mr. Carnes, did you have any corrections, objections, amendments, anything like that to make to the PSI?
There.
How about you, Mr. Harrison?
I don't have anything to add.
Is there any victim impact statement today, Mr. Hartel? Mr. Carnes?
Your Honor, yes, I do have just his written statement. When I was attacked, I was afraid for my life. I'm sorry, I should see this where his Mr. Kevin Allen in the courtroom. Then I will read.
You may read it. Thank you.
When I was attacked, I was afraid for my life. As of this writing, I still have, which was October 20, 2025, I still have pain all over my body from scrambling to get away from him while trapped in a car. It makes me angry, and my wife also.
Oh, Miss, you go ahead and finish that, but obviously I've got to correct the sentence credit.
Okay. He describes how his face was scratched and he had a sore neck. He did get a t-shirt, which was a gift from his daughter, which and obviously that has some sentimental value to him.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Before I turn to allocution, we need to go ahead and change on CFJ 145, page 2, that the defendant has been in custody since December 18th of this year. That is credit up until yesterday, because you'll get credit for today. And so, credit until December 21 of 2025. That's an added 4 days, so a total of 37. Thank you. All right, allocution, Mr. Harrison.
Well, look, Your Honor. I see a theme here. I see a pattern here in the life of this young man. He's 34 years old. He suffers from a couple of issues, and the most, I think, glaring one is that he's bored. There's not much structure in his life. He is primarily dependent upon his father for a place to live. That's a never-ending source of friction between those two gentlemen. He has some issues with regard to some trauma in his life. Two of his three sisters have passed away far too young and in the not too distant past. That's had an untold effect on him too. Now you read that he's on disability, and you also see that he's not currently seeking mental health treatment. Big red flag, big issue. And that's a lot about what Devin and I have talked about since he's been in jail. He was also involved in a kerfuffle in the jail that had a lot to do with his seeming inability to control his impulses in certain respects. That, to me, is something that is difficult to explain to somebody as they're experiencing it, because their brain is wired a way that they react fight or flight to even the slightest provocation. And that's exactly what happened here. Once he's had the step back to look at it a couple of different ways, and through conversations with me and the people in the jail, he has come to realize that he needs to react in a more reasonable manner to even uncomfortable stimulation, whatever that may consist of. The event in question, he believed that his father and Mr. Allen were picking on him, and they probably were to a certain extent because of the fact that there's continually friction between the three parties involved here. Once I saw the sort of the triangle here, it sort of, I won't say it made sense, but it definitely provided me with an explanation of what may have occurred. And it turns out I was mostly right in my portrayal of that. Back to Mr. Dimitri. He's fortunate to the extent that his guidelines are so low, because he doesn't have a mindset where he seeks out criminal behavior. Yes, he's done a couple of things in the past, but again, if you look, you can clearly see the theme of lack of impulse control, which has been a hallmark of his existence on the planet. He had some difficulty on bond here too, and I'm sensitive to that issue because of the 0 to 6 guideline. Obviously, he's already served some time on that, and there's already a presumption on the right word, but there's already a recommendation that he be placed on probation. Of course, he even would agree that probation is the best place for him because it will provide him with some structure in which he can get some assistance with coping skills and impulse control, particularly anger management, whatever you want to call it. It's clear that that's the issue that's holding him back. His disability has been stopped all the time he's been incarcerated. He's tried to work in the past, and for various reasons that hasn't worked out, and he did get an award of a disability case because of that. So that's a complete picture of what's going on. That's also a complete picture of what the plan would be for the future. The obvious question is, yes, he violated his bond. He violated his bond because he ignored the requirements of the tether system, whatever you call it. I don't want to leave the court with the impression that he's the sort of person that would thumb his nose at the court and just say, hey, I don't care what you say to me, Judge, I'm going to do what I want anyway. I think there is a disconnect there that he needs to work on, whether that's a learning disability or something along that line. I believe essentially that he truly didn't think there would be an issue if he wanted to go to the store and not tell the tether people. All that means to me is that this guy needs structure. This guy needs somebody who will take the time to sit down and state in no uncertain terms what the expectations are of him. The other thing I know about Devin is that he's a people pleaser, so I think he'll do well on probation. I don't know that there's a lot more to say about. This is an incident where his reaction to the situation, and I don't know what was said or done to him, but clearly nobody provoked him physically. That was all him. And that's a glaring example, I think, of his inability to control his emotions in an appropriate way that he can work on and needs to in the future. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, John.
Mr. Barnes?
Thank you, Your Honor. Reviewing the defendant's recent criminal history, I do see 2 93-day assaults pled down to jostling. That is concerning. And then the behavior here, I mean, it looks, as I read the report, I thought, boy, this looks a little bit more serious than a simple assault, but the victim refused any kind of medical treatment. So how do I prove? And, you know, the resolution is what it is. The charges are what they are. I do think jail is appropriate for violent behavior, and once the legislature still agrees with me on that. I would ask the court to impose a 60 days jail sentence as well as 24 months probation here. And I do sincerely hope that the defendant is successful on probation. sandwich my comments here, I did note he was successful on past probation. Thank you.
Mr. Dimitri, you have the right to make a statement if you choose to do so. You may remain seated if it's more comfortable. Is there anything you wish to say today, sir?
Yes, Your Honor, I'd like to, first, if it is okay if I have a couple of minutes to speak with you. Do you allow me to?
Yeah, right now. Yeah.
You've been very helpful as far as this charge, and I do not have any kind of bad emotion towards you. I really am thankful for you. You did give me a chance to speak my mind, and I do not mean to do those things that I do. I have to have time to think before I act, Your Honor. And when I get into fights, it's not because I choose to. I don't like to hurt people. I'm not a bad person. And that is, like my attorney said, I'm a people pleaser. If you want to place me on probation, I promise that I will not violate the rules of the probation as a it's not really a probee, but a person that is a member of the probation. 24 months is not a bad term to me. I did spend almost a little over a month and a week in jail, and no way in any shape or form am I angry with you, Your Honor. I am very thankful that I'm still here. I wanted to build my home. It was lost in a house fire. I had pets that died. Like Jeff had told you, just reviewing and re-saying what he said and repeating it. My sisters did pass away. It has hurt me. I'm not gonna be somebody that has anger because of it. I learned from my mistakes, and like Jeff said, I'm a people pleaser, and people really do like me, and I'm a people person. I'm a nice person too. So if you do place me on probation, thank you, Your Honor, and that's all I have to say.
All right. Thank you. Why do you think these things happen?
It's probably because my age and the way that my personality is. I'm an adventurous person and don't like to. When I was a kid, I had things that I would love to do. Sports. I'm not really a bully, so that's kind of why I'm an active person. Just an opinion or honest answer I try to give you.
That's all right. All right. Court recognizes that as for the felony, it is an intermediate sanction cell. Court therefore recognizes the rebuttable presumption of no jail unless there are reasonable grounds. I find that there are reasonable grounds, not only because there was an attempt to carry a concealed weapon, there was also the carrying of an unlawful weapon. The court also sees that recognizes the defendant had a probation violation, which we talked a little bit about here today on the record and in previous hearings. Also, the court recognizes that we have a misdemeanor, which also has a rebuttable presumption. Typically, however, that rebuttable presumption does not apply as it's an assault and battery. So the court therefore must establish a reasonable proportionate sentence. When I think about proportionality, I also think about here that the defendant has had a couple other prior acts of violence in the past. In fact, one in 2021, actually two, I'll take that back, one in 2020, one in 2021, and now this one here in 2025. There were a couple other prior allegations of domestic violence, but those were dismissed. So therefore, the court does not take those into consideration. All right, so the court therefore places the defendant on a period of probation for 24 months. He'll have the right to be considered for early release upon completion of halftime if he's completed the terms and conditions successfully. The court adopts the terms and conditions for probation that are listed on CFJ 145, pages 2 and 3 within the pre-sentence investigation report. Again, I find that those terms and conditions are well suited for rehabilitative purposes based upon the contents of the information here inside the PSI. The court assesses a $68 state minimum fee for the felony, a $50 state minimum fee for the misdemeanor, a $130 crime victims' right fund fee, a $300 court cost, a $500 fine, a $300 attorney fee. Was there DNA already available?
There was,
Yeah, all right, that's what I thought. And then we have a supervision fees of $30 a month or $60 a month if there is any electronic monitoring. Now becomes the time to consider any period of confinement based upon the factors that we have heard a little bit about today, specifically the bond violations, the fact that he's got multiple assault and batteries. Here, 1 second. In the past, I say here, I mean within the last couple of years, as I've already stated. 1 second. The court sentences the defendant to 60 days of jail for each count with 37 days of credit. Again, for the domestic violence, I don't need to establish reasonable grounds. As for the felony, I've already done that by the statements I made earlier on the record. All right, Mr. Dimitri, I've already talked to you a little bit about how you can be released from probation early. I need to tell you that all fines and costs are due within 56 days from today's date. Failure to pay those fines within that timeline will result in a 20% penalty. However, the court will waive that penalty provided you are making payments while you're on your period of probation. Mr. Harrison is going to bring to you 2 copies of one document. You're going to place your initials on one copy.
Your Honor, will I receive a copy of those, for this? Okay, thank you, Your Honor.
Yep, you'll receive that from Mr. Stapleton. Now, again, this document that you're going to place your initials on, place your initials neither elects nor waives any rights. It merely acknowledges your receipt of your copy. So when you put your initials on that, that copy gets brought back to me. The other copy you're going to take with you. Again, that copy tells you that you have the right to appeal your conviction and sentence. And if you choose to do so, and you want the court to appoint an attorney to assist you, you may complete the bottom half and return to court within 42 days. If you choose not to appeal, you may simply dispose of your copy of the document. Mr. Dimitri, let's make sure that you're working with your probation officer.
Kevin is my.
Yep. And clearly you're going to have some impulse control issues. That's why you were violating your bond by going to the store or whatever. Ask.
Yes, I understand, Your Honor. That is what I call that. Too.
Okay. So what you're going to do is you're going to ask for permission before you do something. Don't come back and ask for forgiveness, because I'm not likely to give it, because I'm trying to get you to realize, hey, I have this impulse. Let me reach out to my probation officer to make sure I understand what I can and cannot do.
I understand, Your Honor.
All right. All right. All right, Mr. Dimitri and everyone else, thank you.